वासुदेवेन्द्र योगीन्द्रं नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुं मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधो विधीयते. So last class we were looking at the third section of the text, which is called as the Samashti Vichara, or the discussion about the microcosm. The macrocosm. The macrocosm, as we understand, Brahman with Maya, the consciousness with the inert principle called Maya, together come together to create the universe. So Maya is ever changing, Brahman is never changing. So that is the basic difference between them. Brahman is the consciousness with which Maya creates the universe. Now, Maya has got three attributes, as we know. The three gunas, as we call them: Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So with these three gunas, the Maya and Brahman together form five basic elements: Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jalam and Prithvi. So basically the text says the universe is created with 24 elements. So the first five elements are the five basic elements which are formed first. With these five elements, a combination of all this, these are called as the Panchabhutas. So with these Panchabhutas, the other things are created, which is called Bhautikas. So the five organs of knowledge, they are formed first. The four inner instruments, the mind, the intellect, the ego and the memory, these four. Then the five organs of action and the five pranas. So totally 5 plus 5, 10 plus 4, 14 plus 5, 19. And the five basic elements, the five Jnanendriyas 10, the five Karmendriyas 14, the four inner instruments 19 and the five pranas 24. So these are how the 24 elements are created. And we also understood the process of creating the physical body. So we'll just read out first what the text says, and then we will again go back to what we. So through a process called Panchikaranam, the tamas aspect of all the five basic elements are used to produce the physical body. So as per the text, Panchikaranam kathamiti cheta etesham pancha mahabhutanam tamasamsha swarupamekam bhutam dvidha vibhajyai kamardham prithukshinim vyavasthapya paramardham chaturdha vibhajya swardha bhinneshu ardheshu swabhaga chatushtaya samyojanam panchikaranam bhavati. So this is what the text defines the process of Panchikaranam. As we had understood in the last class itself, when it comes to the physical body, it is not the direct elements which are used. So when we say the body is made up of Panchabhutas, It is not the direct subtle 5 elements. So to create the gross body, there is a process called Panchikaranam, where each element, so when you say Akasha element, it is not pure Akasha element. The Akasha element, when you say, it is half Akasha element. The rest of the half consists of the other 4. Vayu, Agni, Jalam and Prithvi. So 1/8 of each. So half is the main element. So when we say, when it comes to the physical body, when we say Akasha, it means half is Akasha and the rest of the half is the other 4 elements. Similarly, when it comes to Vayu, it is half Vayu, the rest is the other 4 elements. So like this, each of the 5 elements is then grossified, and with this process of, and this it is basically the tamas aspect of each of the 5 elements which are used to create the gross body. So basically the gross body is made up of tamas. Means it is, like we had explained, it is dravya. Other 2 are jnana and karma. This is dravya which pulls down the other 2. So basically physical body is made up of tamas. So that is why we are always lethargic, lazy. The physical body is always lethargic, it is lazy, but it is also required because the physical body has to take rest. So unless you are lethargic, lazy at particular times, the body will not get rest. At the same time, if we extend this lethargy during the other times, it will tend to bring down first our the active part and then the knowledge part also. So this tends to pull down the 2. So that is why they say, when you, during sleep, you allow the body to take over, the tamas to take over naturally, because you need that sleep. But rest of the time, if the body is feeling lethargic, if you are feeling dull, but you can't sleep, you should not sleep whenever you feel lethargic, do some activity. So that first you need to get into the kriya, you have to get into the kriya shakti mode, so that the lethargy is taken over. And from kriya shakti, then you move to the knowledge part. So always when you are feeling lethargic, lazy, do some physical activity so that the body loses that lethargy. You don't allow tamas to take over, because when tamas takes over, you become very dull. Neither your body is active nor your mind is active. So this is how. So the body is made up of the tamas aspect of all the elements. So this is how. So the next verse says, Etebhyah panchikrita pancha mahabhutebhyah sula shariram bhavati. So from these 5 elements which have gone through the process of panchikaranam or grossification, the physical body is made. So this is what. Then it concludes this section by saying, Evam pinda brahmanda yoreikyam sambhutam. In this manner, the identity between the micro and the macrocosm is arrived at. So this is the connection between the micro and the macrocosm. So this concludes the 3rd section of this text. So the first section we understood what are the basic qualifications required for understanding the self, for self-knowledge. The second section, we understood what is the macrocosm. The microcosm. The third section, we understood about the macrocosm. So, Vyashti Vichara and Samashti Vichara, as it is called. So, the third section is concluded with the understanding of the macrocosm and how the process and how these micro and macrocosm are arrived at, the connection between these two. Now we move on to the final section of this text, which is called Jiva Ishvara Aikyam, or establishing the connection between Jivatma and the Paramatma, you can say. So now to understand this, we have to understand the basic philosophy behind these texts. So we have the philosophy that we are going to follow here. This text follows, and other Vedic texts, like whether it is Bhagavad Gita or is it the Upanishads or Brahma Sutra, all follow the Advaita philosophy. There are basically, in our Sanatana Dharma, broadly there are three philosophies we might have come across. The first one is called Dvaita philosophy, which is the individual is different from the total. God, I am an individual and there is a God. There are two different things. This was propagated by a saint called Madhvacharya. The second type of philosophy is called Vishishta Advaita philosophy, where I am part of God. This was propagated by another saint called Ramanujacharya. The third philosophy on which this text is based is called Advaita philosophy, where I am God. I am no different from God. To understand this, normally the texts give an example of the wave and the ocean. Now, the ocean has got waves. Now, one particular wave may think, I am very small compared to the ocean, I am different from the ocean. So it has got a feeling that it is different from the ocean because I am small, the ocean is so big. So that is what we called as Dvaita philosophy. Another wave thinks, I am in the ocean, so I am part of the ocean. I am different, but I am also part of the ocean. So this is what is Vishishta Advaita, where the ocean thinks it is different, but part of the ocean. The third wave thinks, the base for both the ocean and me is water. So there is no difference between the wave and the ocean. So I am also ocean, but I appear as a wave. So this is what is basically the Advaita philosophy, which was extensively promoted by Adi Shankara. So basically in this text, the Advaita philosophy is being followed. So now let us understand a little more about the self and the total before we go to the verse from the text. Now we have understood the self is made up of three bodies: the causal body, the Sukshma Sharira or the subtle body, and the physical body, Sthula Sharira. Karana Sharira, Sukshma Sharira and Sthula Sharira. Similarly, the total also is that there is a total causal body, there is a total Sukshma Sharira and there is a total Sthula Sharira. Now, the base, or let us say, coming to the, now let us understand when we say Brahman and Maya come together. Brahman doesn't undergo any change. Only the Maya keeps changing. So what is the role of Brahman? It is to provide that consciousness. Maya by itself is inert. Only with the support of Brahman it becomes conscious. So Maya only reflects the consciousness of the Brahman. So if we take the example of sun, when we say the sunlight is reflected, if you have a mirror, you can reflect the sunlight. You can, if you have a small mirror, you can use that to reflect. You can see, we have all tried in our younger days also. We have used mirrors to focus light on a particular object. Similarly, if you have a very large mirror, you can in fact light up the entire room. You can place the mirror in such a way that the sunlight falls on it and it gets reflected into the room, where the whole room can be illuminated. So the reflection of the light depends on the medium. The larger the medium, the reflection will be more brighter and cover a larger area. So here the sunlight, if we we have taken the example of a sunlight as a reflecting medium. Now let us extend this to Brahman, which is similar to the sun. Through the reflecting medium, the medium that we have is very small. There are, as an individual, so we have the three bodies, like coming to the Karana Sharira, Sukshma Sharira and Sthula Sharira. You take this as three reflecting medium. Each of them is a reflecting medium. So when the Karana Sharira is the reflecting medium, the consciousness reflected through this medium, we call it as prajna. We have seen this earlier. When the medium is the Karana Sharira, the consciousness reflected through this medium is called as prajna. Similarly, the Sukshma Sharira, the consciousness reflected through the Sukshma Sharira is called as Taijasa. And the consciousness reflected through the Sthula Sharira, which is the gross body, it is called as Vishwa. So the reflecting medium for each, there is the reflected consciousness is arrived at, it is given a particular name. Similarly, if you take the total consciousness, total of all this, the total causal body, if the total causal body is the reflecting medium, the consciousness, the reflected through the total causal body is called as Antarayami. So the reflecting medium is the total Karana Sharira. And the consciousness reflected through this medium is called as Antaryami. Similarly, the total Sukshma Sharira. When total Sukshma Sharira is the medium, the consciousness reflected through this medium is called as Hiranya Garbha. Similarly, the total Sthula Sharira, when that is the medium, the consciousness reflected through this medium is called as Virat. So we have 6 different medium and there are 6 different consciousness, reflected consciousness. Reflected in each, if we take the first medium, the individual causal body, when that is the medium, we call it as reflected, the reflecting medium 1. Through that, the consciousness reflected is 1. RM1 and RC1. Reflected medium 1, the reflected consciousness 1. So that is Prajna. Similarly, if you take RM2, the reflected medium 2, which is the subtle body, the Sukshma Sharira of the individual, the reflected consciousness, we can call it as RC2, which is Tejasa. Similarly, the gross body, when that is the reflecting medium, let us call it as RM3. Through that, the reflected consciousness, Vishwa, we can call it as RC3. Similarly, when it comes to the total, you can say the total Karana Sharira, if that is the reflecting medium, RM4, the reflected consciousness, RC4, is called as Antaryami. Similarly, the reflecting medium 5, if we take it as the total Sukshma Sharira, the reflected consciousness, RC5, is called as Hiranyagarbha. And finally, if we take the total gross body as the reflecting medium, RM6, then the corresponding reflected consciousness, which is called as Virat, is RC6. So this is how we understand how the consciousness is reflected through different mediums. So here we have 6 medium and correspondingly 6 consciousness reflected in these different mediums. So this is now to understand the connection between these two. The 3 together, that is Prajna, Tejasa and Vishwa together is called as the Jiva or Jivatma. Antaryami, Hiranyagarbha and Virat together is called as Ishvara. So this is the connection between Ishvara and the Jiva. Now, if we look at very carefully, both the Jiva and Ishvara are both reflections of the total, the original consciousness, which is called as Brahman. So both are reflected. The only difference is we are a small reflecting media. So the reflection depends totally on the media. So we have a very small reflecting media, and that too it is clouded. It is, if you have a dirty mirror, very small and dirty mirror, you can see how much the reflection will be. At the same time, you have a huge mirror, very clean mirror, you can see the reflection. The difference between the both are reflecting. But one is a small and dirty reflecting medium. The other one is a large and very clean medium. But we have to understand, but both are reflecting media. So there is no difference. Only thing, because we have a smaller reflecting media and it is clouded with so many things, we think that the other media is the original. So that is what makes people think. So that is what the text is going to say next. The difference between us and the total, we feel, is because our reflection is very limited. And the other one, because it is so large, we think that is the main reflection, though in truth both are reflected media. Neither that is the original nor we are the original. So if you remove the reflecting media, both are one and the same. So the Dvaita philosophy thinks that reflecting medium is everything. So that is what is Ishvara, and I am different from him because I am individual. I don't have the kind of brilliance that Ishvara has. So that is what leads to the Dvaita philosophy. And Dvaita is, there is nothing to learn in Dvaita, because as such we think we are different from God. Nobody has to be told. We all think that God is different from us. So there is nothing to understand there. It is already that is already our impression that we are not God. But we are here, we are trying to analyze and arrive at the fact that whether it is Ishvara or whether it is the individual, both are reflection of the original consciousness. Now, for example, suppose we see our face in different mirrors. Suppose you see your face in a convex mirror. You will find your face is elongated. Suppose you see in a concave mirror, you will see your face is flat. But you also know that that is not your face. That is not your original face. So we might have seen in some of these exhibitions and all, they have these mirror rooms where we go in and we see different, in each mirror we look different. Somewhere our face is elongated, somewhere we are very fat. We all have a good laugh, but we also know the truth, that is not me. It's only a distorted reflection. So we will not look at that, so I am so ugly, we don't come out and say, oh, I am so ugly, my face looks so bad. Because we know the truth. We know that whatever distortions are there because of the medium. It is not me who is distorted. It is the medium which makes me look distorted. The same thing we have to understand. The medium that through which we are reflected is different from the medium which the total is reflected. So that is why we feel there is a difference between us and that. So that is the basic confusion that we have. So that is what the text will. So this particular section starts with this verse. Stula sharirabhimani जीवनामकं ब्रह्म प्रतिबिंबं भवति स एव जीवः प्रकृत्या स्वस्मादीश्वरं भिन्नत्वेन जानाति. So what it says is, this jiva or the self identified with the three bodies. So here he says identified with the gross body, but in actual terms, gross body means it is all the three bodies. causal, the Sukshma Sharira and the Sthula Sharira. Karana, Sukshma and Sthula Sharira together, which is called as Jiva, is but a reflection of the total. But the Jiva feels he is different from the total, because by nature that is how it appears. So the Jiva feels I am different from the total. And next verse, avidyopadihi sannatma jiva ityuchyate. So I, the Jiva, because of ignorance, so I, the Atma, because of ignorance connected with these three bodies together, which is called as avidya, thinks I am an individual. So there is a confusion within me that I am a miserable individual, different from the total. Again, the next verse he goes, Mayopadihi sannatmeshwara ityuchyate. The Atma identifying with the total Maya is called as Ishvara. Ishvara is the one which runs this entire world. The natural laws are all, it's a very complicated thing to run. You can understand the universe runs so many things. There are so many planets, there's the Milky Way, there are so many things which are there in the universe. But they all form go according to a law which is laid down by Ishvara. So it is Ishvara who governs these laws. That is why the earth moves at a particular speed on its axis, then it goes around the sun. There is a solar system. None of the planets collide against each other. The seasons happen according to their own time. So there are natural laws laid out which are governed by Ishvara, the total. But Ishvara again is only a reflection of the total, the consciousness principle called Brahman. In fact, even the individual laws are laid by Ishvara only. The dharma, what is the dharma one should follow, what you should know, what you should not do. These are all again laws which each of us is governed by. So we are born with certain things which we don't have it taught. For example, you should not kill others, you should not hurt others, you should not steal from others. So these are all part of the laws which are laid down by nature. It is not man-made laws. So the entire world is governed by Ishvara. But this Ishvara is not different from the individual. Because he appears different, being a total reflecting medium, we think we are different from this Ishvara. So the only way to understand this, there is no difference, is to understand the knowledge, through knowledge. So that is what the process of gaining moksha is about. Understanding that the self is the same as the total. More of it, about why we are ignorant and how to remove this ignorance will be covered in the next few verses which we will see in the next class.